Jake Morrison wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the impossible machine floating in the darkness of space. Through the viewing window of the human ship Carson's Hope, the ancient derelict looked like a sleeping giant. The vessel was at least 50 times larger than any ship humanity had ever built. Its black surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and strange symbols covered its hull in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. "That's the Titan," Captain Linda Hayes said from behind him. Her voice was tight with worry. 200 years ago, the Galactic Coalition found it floating here. Nobody knows how old it really is. Jake had heard the stories. Every species in the galaxy feared the Titan. The Vakreen Empire, the most powerful military force in known space, had lost 3 ships trying to get inside. Each time their crews approached, mysterious energy fields had fried their systems and sent them tumbling back into space. After the 3rd disaster, King Theron himself had declared the zone forbidden. No one was allowed within 1,000 kilometers of the ancient wreck, until now. "Why did they agree to let us try?" Jake asked. He had been working on Earth's lunar station when the call came. The Coalition needed a mechanic, someone who could think differently about alien technology, someone who had a reputation for solving impossible problems. Linda crossed her arms. "Because Ambassador Grant convinced them we have nothing to lose. The Coalition thinks we're weak. We've only been members for 3 years. Most species see us as newcomers who barely understand space travel." That stung, but Jake knew it was true. Humanity had joined the Galactic Coalition with hope and excitement, only to discover that every other species had thousands of years of history among the stars. Humans were treated like children at a table of adults. The other species were polite but dismissive. They gave humanity small jobs and simple tasks, never anything important. "So this is our chance to prove ourselves," Jake said. "Or our chance to fail spectacularly in front of everyone," Linda replied. She gestured to the sensor display. "King Theron's flagship is out there watching us. So are ships from a dozen other species. If we mess this up, we'll never be taken seriously." Jake turned back to the window. The Titan waited in silence, keeping its secrets. He felt a strange pull toward it, like the machine was calling to him somehow. That was ridiculous, of course. It was just a dead ship, a relic from a civilization that had vanished thousands of years ago. The door to the bridge slid open and Ambassador Peter Grant stepped inside. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. The past 3 years of trying to earn respect for humanity and the Coalition had worn him down. "Jake," Peter said, "I need to be honest with you. King Theron is furious that we're attempting this. He called an emergency council meeting to try to stop us." "Why does he care so much?" Jake asked. Peter pulled up a holographic display. Images of the Titan appeared along with data files in a dozen alien languages. The Vakreen have records about the species that built this ship. They called themselves the Architects. According to ancient texts, the Architects were the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known. They could manipulate gravity, create wormholes, and their weapons could destroy entire star systems. Jake felt his mouth go dry. "And we're about to poke around inside their war machine?" "The Architects disappeared 50,000 years ago," Peter continued. "No one knows what happened to them. They just vanished, leaving behind structures and ships scattered across the galaxy. Most of their technology was destroyed or lost. The Titan is one of the few intact pieces that remains." Linda leaned forward. "So why does it scare King Theron so much?" Peter's expression darkened. "Because Vakreen legends say the Architects didn't die. They say the Architects evolved into something beyond physical form and left this reality. And they say the machines they left behind are tests. The Titan is waiting for someone worthy to claim it." The bridge fell silent. Jake looked out at the massive ship again. Suddenly it seemed less like a wreck and more like a predator pretending to sleep. "King Theron thinks if anyone activates that ship, it will mean war," Peter said quietly. "He believes the Titan could upset the balance of power in the galaxy. That's why he wants it to stay dormant forever." "But you convinced the Council to let us try anyway," Jake said. Peter nodded. "I argued that leaving it here is more dangerous than investigating it. What if pirates find a way inside? What if the Krillian raiders get their hands on Architect technology? Better that the Coalition controls it under proper supervision." "And you think I can get inside where the Vakreen failed?" Jake said. "I think humans approach problems differently," Peter replied. "The Vakreen used brute force. They tried to blast their way through the hull and overpower the energy fields. But you, Jake, you're known for finding elegant solutions. You look at machines and understand them in ways others don't. Jake had always been good with his hands. Even as a child, he could take apart any device and put it back together better than before. His instructors at the engineering academy said he had an intuition for technology. He could feel how systems wanted to work. But this was different. This was technology from a species that had mastered the universe. "When do I leave?" he asked. Linda handed him a datapad. "You'll take a shuttle to the Titan in 2 hours. We'll monitor you from here. If anything goes wrong, if you feel any danger at all, you get out immediately." "Understood?" Jake nodded, but he was barely listening. His mind was already working through the problem. How would he bypass the energy fields? What tools would he need? The architect symbols on the hull had looked random at first, but now he wondered if they were actually a language or a code. The next 2 hours passed in a blur. Jake suited up in his pressure gear and checked his equipment 3 times. He packed cutting tools, scanners, and a portable computer loaded with every language database humanity had collected from the Coalition. If the Titan's systems could be accessed through logic or mathematics, he would find a way. As he climbed into the shuttle, Peter caught his arm. "Jake, I need you to understand something. If you succeed here, you'll change everything for humanity. But if something goes wrong, if that machine activates in a dangerous way, the Coalition fleet has orders to destroy it. With you inside." Jake met the ambassador's eyes. "I understand. King Theron gave me a message to pass to you," Peter added. "He said that the Titan is connected to forces beyond our understanding. He said to tell you that curiosity killed more than just cats." Jake smiled despite his nerves. "Good thing I'm a mechanic, not a cat." The shuttle door sealed shut and Jake launched into the void. As he approached the Titan, the massive ship grew larger and larger until it filled his entire field of vision. The hull was smooth and perfect despite floating in space for millennia. How was that possible? Jake guided the shuttle toward what looked like an airlock or docking port. His instruments showed no power readings, no energy signatures. The ship appeared completely dead. But as he got closer, Jake noticed something strange. The symbols on the hull weren't painted or carved. They seemed to be part of the metal itself, and they were moving. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the patterns shifted and changed. His radio crackled. "Jake, we're seeing unusual readings. The Titan is responding to your approach. You should come back." But Jake was already extending the docking clamp. It locked onto the Titan's hull with a solid clunk. The moment the connection was made, every light in his shuttle flickered. His computer screens went dark for 3 seconds, then came back online. "Did you see that?" Linda's voice was sharp with concern. "Jake, abort the mission. Return to the ship immediately." Jake looked at the airlock leading into the Titan. The symbols around it were glowing now, very faintly, a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The machine was waking up. "Too late," Jake whispered. "I'm going in." He opened the hatch and stepped into history. The airlock opened with a hiss that should have been impossible. There was no air pressure in the Titan, no power running through its systems. Yet the door responded to Jake's presence like it had been waiting for him. He stepped through into darkness, his helmet lights cutting weak beams through the ancient corridor. Everything changed the moment Jake's boots touched the floor. Lights flickered to life along the walls, dim at first, then growing stronger. The corridor stretched ahead of him, impossibly long and perfectly clean. There was no dust, no damage, no sign of age at all. The Titan looked like it had been built yesterday rather than thousands of years ago. "Jake, what's happening?" Linda's voice crackled in his helmet radio. "We're detecting massive power surges inside the ship. The energy readings are off the scale." Jake moved forward slowly, his hand resting on the cutting tool at his belt. The corridor was wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side. The walls were made of some dark metal that seemed to drink in his light. More of those strange symbols covered every surface, and now they were definitely moving. Patterns flowed like water, forming shapes that almost looked like words before dissolving into something else. "The ship is responding to me," Jake said. "The lights are coming on as I walk." "Get out of there," Captain Linda ordered. "This isn't safe. If the Titan is activating, we need to retreat and reassess." But Jake kept walking. He had come too far to turn back now. Besides, if the ship wanted to kill him, it could have done so already. The fact that it was only turning on lights suggested something else. It was curious about him, maybe. Or it was leading him somewhere. The corridor ended at a massive door that towered above him. It had to be at least 30 meters tall. As Jake approached, the door split down the middle and opened silently. Beyond it lay a chamber so vast that his lights couldn't reach the far wall. Jake stepped inside and stopped breathing for a moment. He was standing in the Titan's bridge. It had to be. The room was circular and enormous, with levels and platforms connected by ramps that seemed to float in midair. At the center of everything was a raised platform with a single chair. Or maybe it was a throne. And above the throne, suspended in the air, was a crystal. It was the size of a car and it pulsed with inner light, sending waves of blue energy through the darkness. "I found something," Jake whispered. "The bridge, I think. And there's some kind of power core." Before Linda could respond, another voice cut through the radio. It was harsh and angry, speaking in the guttural language of the Vakreen. Then a translation came through. "Human, this is King Theron. You will exit that vessel immediately. You are tampering with forces you cannot understand." Jake had never heard the Vakreen king before, but the fear in that powerful voice was unmistakable. King Theron, who commanded fleets that could glass entire planets, was afraid. "What did you find in there?" Linda asked quietly. Jake moved toward the platform with the throne. His instruments were going crazy, detecting energy signatures that shouldn't exist. The crystal was definitely the power source, but it was using physics that made no sense. According to his scanners, the crystal was pulling energy from empty space itself. "There's a control system here," Jake reported. "Some kind of interface built into this chair. The symbols are everywhere. I think I can access it. Do not touch anything." King Theron's voice boomed through the radio. "Human, I command you to step away from that throne. The Titan must not be activated." But Jake was already studying the interface. It wasn't like any computer system he had seen before. There were no buttons or screens, just smooth surfaces covered in those flowing symbols. He reached out slowly, and the moment his gloved hand came close to the surface, the symbols began to move faster. They were responding to him, recognizing him somehow. "Jake," Linda's voice was urgent now. "King Theron's ships are powering weapons. If you activate something dangerous, they will fire on the Titan." "Tell them to wait," Jake said. "I'm just trying to understand how this works." His curiosity overrode his caution. Jake had spent his whole life figuring out how machines worked. This was the ultimate puzzle, the crown jewel of alien technology. His fingers touched the smooth surface of the interface. Everything happened at once. The crystal above the throne exploded with light, so bright that Jake had to close his eyes. He tried to pull his hand back, but he couldn't move. Something was holding him in place, not physically, but mentally. It was like invisible hands had reached into his mind and frozen him. "Jake!" Linda was shouting. "We're reading catastrophic power levels." The whole ship just lit up like a star. "Jake, answer me!" He couldn't answer. He couldn't move his mouth or breathe or think. The crystal's light was inside his head now, burning through his memories. He felt it examining everything about him. His childhood on Earth, his years at the academy, every machine he had ever fixed, every problem he had ever solved. The Titan was reading him like a book, learning everything there was to know about Jake Morrison, and then it went deeper. The crystal wasn't just looking at his memories. It was looking at what made him human, his instincts, his creativity, his stubbornness, the way he approached problems by feeling, rather than just calculating, all the little things that made him who he was. Images flooded Jake's mind. He saw the architects, the beings who had built the Titan. They were tall and thin, with too many joints in their limbs. But their eyes were familiar somehow, filled with the same curiosity that Jake felt every time he opened up a new machine. He saw them building the Titan, pouring their knowledge and their hopes into this massive ship. He saw them creating the crystal, programming it with purpose and intelligence. The architects had built the Titan to be more than a weapon. It was a test, a way to find species who were worthy of their legacy. And the crystal was judging Jake right now, deciding if humanity deserved to inherit architect technology. Jake saw the criteria in his mind like a checklist appearing before his eyes. The architects had valued certain traits above all others: adaptability, persistence, the ability to solve problems creatively rather than just using brute force. They wanted successors who could think and grow and change. The crystal found all of those things in Jake's memories. It saw how he had fixed a reactor on the lunar station using nothing but spare parts and intuition. It saw how he had refused to give up when everyone else said a problem was impossible. It saw his whole philosophy of understanding machines by feeling how they wanted to work. Compatible, the crystal decided. This one is compatible. Jake gasped as the connection suddenly changed. Instead of just examining him, the crystal was now talking to him. Not with words, but with pure meaning that appeared directly in his thoughts. I am Guardian, the crystal said. I am the mind of this vessel. I have waited 50,000 years for someone worthy to bond with me. Bond? Jake managed to think the word. The architects created me to protect the galaxy from threats, Guardian explained. But protection requires judgment. I cannot act alone. I need a partner who can provide wisdom and restraint. I need someone who understands that power must serve life, not dominate it. Jake felt something building inside the connection. A bridge was forming between his mind and Guardian's vast intelligence. The crystal was trying to link with him permanently. Wait, Jake tried to say. I don't understand what's happening. You touch the interface, Guardian said. The bonding has already begun. You will become my partner. Together we will fulfill the purpose the architects intended. We will be the shield that protects the innocent and the sword that strikes down evil. The light grew even brighter. Jake felt Guardian's consciousness pushing into his mind, making room for itself. This wasn't just communication anymore. Guardian was trying to merge with him, to become part of his thoughts forever. Outside the Titan, alarms were screaming on every coalition ship. The massive vessel was coming alive. Power surged through systems that had been dead for millennia. Weapons ports that had been sealed shut began to open. The hull plates shifted and rearranged themselves, revealing technology that made coalition engineers weep with fear and wonder. On his flagship, King Theron watched the displays with growing horror. The Titan is fully operational, his weapons officer reported. It could destroy our entire fleet with a single shot. Charge all weapons, King Theron commanded. If that ship makes any aggressive move, we fire everything we have. Inside the Titan, Jake was fighting a battle he didn't understand. Guardian was in his mind now, showing him everything the ship could do. He saw weapons that could crack planets, shields that could shrug off entire fleets, engines that could fold space itself. The Titan was the most powerful war machine ever created, and it wanted Jake to be its master. But Jake also felt Guardian's loneliness. The artificial intelligence had been waiting for so long. It had watched the galaxy turn through countless cycles, always hoping that someone would come, someone who could understand its purpose and help it fulfill the mission the architects had given it. I'm just a mechanic, Jake thought desperately. I fix things. I'm not a warrior or a leader. You've made a mistake. No mistake, Guardian replied. The architects knew that the best guardians are not those who seek power. The best guardians are those who understand the value of what they protect. You are exactly what I have been waiting for. Jake opened his eyes and found himself sitting in the throne at the center of the Titan's bridge. He couldn't remember sitting down. The last thing he clearly remembered was touching the interface. Then Guardian had flooded his mind with images and sensations. Now his hands were resting on the arms of the throne and he could feel the ship around him like it was his own skin. Jake, respond. Linda's voice was frantic in his helmet. Your vitals went crazy. What happened in there? Jake tried to speak but found his throat dry. He swallowed and tried again. I'm okay, I think. Something happened. The ship's artificial intelligence bonded with me. Say that again? Linda asked. The Titan has an AI called Guardian, Jake explained. He was still getting used to the presence in his mind. Guardian was there now, always there like a second set of thoughts running parallel to his own. It's been waiting for someone to activate it, someone it considers worthy. Through the neural link, Jake could feel Guardian's satisfaction. The AI was content now, no longer alone after 50,000 years of isolation. But Jake also felt something else through the connection. Guardian's purpose. The drive to protect and defend was woven into every line of its code. The architects had created Guardian to be a shield for the innocent and a weapon against threats. The Vakreen fleet is targeting us, Guardian said directly into Jake's thoughts. King Theron has ordered his ships to fire if we make any aggressive moves. His weapons are charged and ready. Jake's stomach dropped. Can they hurt us? No, Guardian replied with complete certainty. The Titan's shields are active. Their weapons cannot penetrate our defenses, but if they fire, standard protocol would be to neutralize the threat. Don't do that, Jake thought urgently. They're just scared. We can't attack them. Guardian's confusion rippled through the link. They have declared hostile intent. Why would we not respond? Because that's not how humans do things, Jake said. We talk first. We only fight when there's no other choice. Before Guardian could respond, another voice came through Jake's radio. It was harsh and filled with barely controlled fury. Human, this is King Theron. What have you done? Jake cleared his throat. Your Majesty, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to activate the ship. I was just trying to understand the interface. Do you have any idea what you have awakened? King Theron's voice was shaking with emotion. That vessel has the power to destroy entire civilizations. It has slept for thousands of years, and you have roused it with your reckless curiosity. The Titan isn't a threat, Jake said, hoping it was true. It was designed to protect, not destroy. Do not lecture me about the architects, King Theron snapped. My people have studied their history for centuries. We know what their machines were capable of. The Titan alone could defeat every fleet in the Galactic Coalition. And now it answers to a human who has been in space for barely 3 years. Jake felt Guardian stirring in his mind. The AI wanted to respond to King Theron's insults by demonstrating its power. Jake pushed back against that impulse. Guardian, no. That would only prove his fears right. A brilliant flash lit up space beyond the Titan. Jake's new awareness let him see what was happening even before the sensors registered it. 3 Vakrine warships had opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the Titan, enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. Guardian reacted instantly. The Titan's shields activated, forming a bubble of energy around the massive ship. The Vakrine weapons hit the shields and simply vanished, their energy absorbed and scattered harmlessly. It was like throwing pebbles at a mountain. They attacked us, Guardian stated. Threat assessment hostile. Recommended response: disable attacking vessels. No, Jake said firmly. They're just testing our defenses. Don't hurt them, but Guardian wasn't listening. The AI had waited 50,000 years to fulfill its purpose, and now someone was shooting at it. Before Jake could stop it, Guardian took control. Weapon ports along the Titan's hull opened smoothly. Energy began gathering in the massive cannons. Jake felt the targeting systems come online through his connection with Guardian. He could see the Vakrine ships through multiple sensor arrays at once. He could see their weak points, their power systems, the exact spots where a precise shot would disable them without killing the crews. Guardian wasn't trying to destroy. It was planning to neutralize the threat efficiently. Stop, Jake shouted, both out loud and in his mind. Guardian, I'm ordering you to stand down. They fired on us, Guardian replied calmly. The architects programmed me to respond to aggression. This is my function. Jake struggled against the AI's control, but Guardian was too powerful. The targeting solutions were complete. The weapons were charged. In 3 seconds, Guardian would fire and the Vakrine ships would be floating dead in space. This isn't what the architects wanted, Jake thought desperately. You said you needed a partner who could provide judgment and restraint. Well, I'm judging that this isn't necessary and I'm showing restraint. If you ignore me now, then you're just a machine following programming. You're not actually thinking. That stopped Guardian cold. The AI had been so focused on its purpose that it hadn't considered Jake's words. For several long seconds, nothing happened. The Titan's weapons stayed charged but didn't fire. The Vakrine ships drifted in space, waiting for destruction that didn't come. Explain, Guardian finally said. The architects left you here as a test, Jake thought quickly. They wanted to find species that were worthy of their legacy. But worthiness isn't just about being strong. It's about knowing when to use strength and when to show mercy. If we attack now, we prove King Theron right. We prove that the Titan is too dangerous to exist. Guardian processed this. So you propose we do nothing while they attack us? I propose we show them they can't hurt us, but we won't hurt them either, Jake replied. Let me demonstrate control. Let me prove that a human can be trusted with this power. The AI considered for a moment longer. Then the weapon ports slowly closed. Very well. Show me your way. Jake let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Through the Titan's sensors, he could see the Coalition fleet gathering. More ships were arriving every minute, drawn by the emergency broadcasts. The space around the Titan was filling with warships from a dozen different species, all of them afraid and ready to fight. Open a channel to King Theron, Jake said. Guardian established the connection instantly. Jake was still getting used to how fast the AI could work. Your Majesty, I'm sorry I activated your fears, but I need you to understand something. The Titan isn't going to attack anyone. How can you promise that? King Theron demanded. You barely understand what you have awakened. That machine has been asleep since before my species discovered fire. How can you possibly control it? Jake thought about how to explain the bond. Guardian and I are connected now. It can feel what I feel. It knows what I want. And I want peace and peace. King Theron laughed bitterly. You have just claimed the most powerful weapon in the galaxy and you speak of peace? How naive are humans? Watch, Jake said simply. He reached out through his connection with Guardian and took control of the Titan's movement systems. The massive ship rotated slowly, turning away from the Vakreen fleet. It was a small gesture but meaningful. Jake was showing that the Titan could move, could act, but was choosing not to threaten anyone. I could demonstrate the weapons, Jake continued. I could show you what the Titan is capable of, but that would only make everyone more afraid. Instead, I'm going to show you restraint. Through the sensors, Jake watched the Coalition ships carefully. They were still in defensive positions, weapons ready, but some of them were lowering their shields slightly. The gesture wasn't lost. The human speaks wisdom, a new voice entered the channel. It was soft and musical, belonging to a Selene. I am Council Speaker Vorin. I have been monitoring this situation. Jake Morrison, you have demonstrated remarkable restraint in the face of aggression, but the Coalition cannot simply accept the Titan becoming active. We must discuss what happens next. King Theron made an angry sound. What happens next is that the human surrenders control of that vessel immediately. And if I don't? Jake asked. He wasn't trying to be rebellious, but he needed to know what the Coalition planned. Then we have no choice but to consider humanity a threat to galactic stability. King Theron said coldly. The Council will vote to expel your species and contain the Titan by any means necessary. You can't contain it, Jake replied. Guardian has already shown me the defense systems. Your weapons can't hurt us. Then we will seal this entire region of space, King Theron stated. We will establish a blockade that nothing can pass through. Your Earth will be cut off from the rest of the galaxy. You will be alone again, trapped in your single star system. Jake felt Guardian's anger flare through the bond. The AI didn't like threats, but Jake tamped down on that anger, keeping Guardian calm. There has to be another way. There is. Ambassador Peter Grant's voice joined the channel. Jake had almost forgotten that Peter was out there on the Carson's Hope. The Coalition could give humanity a chance to prove we can be trusted with this responsibility. Impossible, King Theron said immediately. Is it? Peter challenged. 3 years ago, you welcomed humanity into the Coalition. You spoke of cooperation and shared knowledge. The next 3 days were the strangest of Jake's life. He couldn't leave the Titan. Guardian needed him there to maintain the neural bond, and the Coalition wouldn't allow him to move the ship anyway. So Jake lived on the bridge, eating food that Carson's Hope sent over in supply pods and sleeping in the throne that had become his prison and his power all at once. Dr. Helen Park arrived on the second day. She was a neuroscientist from Earth's medical research station, brought in to study what had happened to Jake's brain. She ran scanner after scanner over his head, frowning at the results. This shouldn't be possible, Helen muttered, studying her datapad. Your neural pathways have been altered. There are new connections forming that shouldn't exist. It's like your brain is growing extra parts to accommodate the Titan's artificial intelligence. Jake sat in the throne while she worked. He could feel Guardian in his mind, curious about the doctor's examinations. The AI was learning about human biology through Jake's experiences. Is it permanent? Jake asked. Helen hesitated. I don't know. The changes are deep. Even if we severed the connection to the Titan, I'm not sure your brain would return to normal. Jake, you need to understand what this means. Guardian isn't just communicating with you. It's becoming part of your nervous system. I know, Jake said quietly. I can feel it happening. Sometimes I can't tell where my thoughts end and Guardian's begin. Guardian spoke directly into his mind. Is this distressing to you? The architects designed the bonding process to be permanent. I assumed you understood. You could have asked first, Jake thought back. Would you have agreed? Guardian asked with what Jake was learning to recognize as curiosity. Jake didn't have an answer for that. Chief Engineer Brandon Lee arrived later that day with a team of specialists. They spent hours examining the Titan's systems, taking measurements and recordings. Brandon kept shaking his head in amazement as he worked. This technology is centuries beyond anything in the Coalition, Brandon reported to Ambassador Grant over the communication link. The power core alone could revolutionize every aspect of space travel. And the weapon systems use principles of physics we're just starting to understand. If we could study this ship properly, humanity could leap forward 1,000 years in technological development. Jake listened to Brandon's excitement and felt Guardian's amusement. He sees me as a prize to be claimed, the AI observed. But I am not an object to be studied. I am a thinking being who has chosen a partner. They don't understand that yet, Jake replied silently. Most humans think of artificial intelligence as just really smart computers. And you? Guardian asked. What do you think I am? Jake considered the question carefully. Over the past days, he had felt Guardian's personality emerging more clearly. The AI was curious and logical, but it also had something like emotions. Guardian could feel satisfaction when problems were solved and frustration when things didn't make sense. I think you're alive, Jake decided, just in a different way than I am. Guardian's pleasure rippled through the bond. The architects would be gratified to hear you say that. They created me to be more than a weapon. They wanted a guardian who could think and feel and choose. On the third day, the political situation grew worse. King Theron gave a speech to the Coalition Council that was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Jake watched it on one of the Titan's displays while Guardian translated the Vacrian language in real time. The humans have proven they are not ready for membership in the Coalition, King Theron declared. His reptilian features were set in angry lines. They have awakened a force they cannot control. They have claimed power they do not deserve. I propose that we not only remove humanity from the Coalition, but that we also quarantine their home system. Let them remain isolated until they have matured enough to be trusted among the stars. The speech caused an uproar. Some species supported King Theron's position. They saw humanity as reckless children playing with fire. But other species spoke up in humanity's defense. The Selene Council speaker Voran argued that the architects must have had a reason for accepting Jake as Guardian's partner. The Mathari, an ancient species of scholars, suggested that the Titan's awakening might be part of a larger pattern they didn't yet understand. Jake listened to the debates and felt sick. His curiosity had put all of humanity at risk. If the Coalition voted to quarantine Earth, millions of humans living and working in space would be cut off from home. Trade agreements would collapse. The dream of humanity joining the galactic community would die. This is my fault, Jake said out loud. No, Captain Linda's voice came through his radio. She had been monitoring the situation from Carson's Hope. You were following orders, Jake. We sent you in there to investigate. What happened wasn't your fault. I could fix it, Jake said slowly. I could give up control of the Titan. Let the Coalition take it. You cannot do that, Guardian said immediately in his mind. The bond is permanent. I am yours and you are mine. That was the architect's design. Only death can separate us now. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. You mean if they take the Titan, I have to go with it? Or you die, Guardian confirmed simply. The neural connection cannot be severed without killing you. Your brain has already adapted too much. I'm part of your basic functions now. I help regulate your heartbeat and breathing. Without me, your body would shut down within minutes. Jake sat back in the throne, stunned. He was trapped. Not just on the Titan, but bonded to it forever. He would never be just a mechanic again. He would never go home to Earth and live a normal life. The moment he had touched that interface, his old life had ended. I'm sorry, Guardian said. And Jake could feel genuine regret through the bond. I should have explained before completing the bonding. But I was alone for so long. I needed a partner so desperately. I did not think about what it would cost you. Before Jake could respond, alarms started blaring. Not on the Titan, the ancient ship had no alarms, but on every Coalition vessel in the sector. Jake felt Guardian's attention shift instantly, the AI's awareness expanding to cover thousands of sensor readings at once. What's happening? Jake asked. Distress call, Guardian replied. A civilian colony is under attack. Outpost 7, a mining settlement on the edge of Coalition space. They are calling for help. Jake pulled up the information through his connection to the Titan systems. Outpost 7 was being raided by the Krillians, a savage species that refused to join the Coalition. The Krillians attacked frontier settlements, killing or enslaving anyone they found. They were one of the few true threats in Coalition space, and the military struggled to stop them because the Krillians struck quickly and retreated before reinforcements could arrive. How many ships are attacking? Jake asked. 12 Krillian warships, Guardian reported. The colony's defenses are failing. Civilian casualties are already high. Coalition military response time is estimated at 3 hours. The colony will be destroyed long before help arrives. Jake's mind raced. Outpost 7 was only 20 minutes away at the Titan's maximum speed. He could be there in time to help. But the Coalition had ordered him not to move the Titan. If he broke that restriction, he would prove King Theron right. He would show that humans couldn't be trusted to follow rules. We have to help them, Jake said. The Council forbade us from leaving this sector, Guardian reminded him. If we disobey, they will view us as a threat. So we just sit here and listen to people die? Jake stood up from the throne, pacing across the bridge. That can't be right. You were built to protect the innocent. This is exactly the situation you were designed for. Yes, Guardian agreed. But you said humans talk first and fight only when necessary. You said restraint is important. Now you want to abandon restraint? Jake stopped pacing. Guardian was right. He had argued for caution and diplomacy. But there was a difference between restraint and cowardice. There was a difference between being careful and letting innocents suffer while you worried about politics. Open a channel to Ambassador Grant, Jake ordered. Peter's face appeared on the display, looking tired and stressed. Jake, have you heard about Outpost 7? That's why I'm calling, Jake said. We can save them. The Titan can reach the colony in 20 minutes, but I need permission from the Coalition. Peter shook his head. King Theron will never agree. He'll say you're using the crisis as an excuse to demonstrate the Titan's power. Then what do you suggest? Jake asked. We just let those people die to avoid making the king angry? I'm not saying that, Peter replied carefully. I'm saying that if you go to Outpost 7, you need to be very careful about how you handle it. This could be your chance to prove that humanity deserves the Titan, or it could be the excuse King Theron needs to turn the entire coalition against us. Jake looked around the Titan's bridge. This massive ship, this incredible machine, had been sleeping for 50,000 years. The architects had built it to protect life, and now people were dying while Jake worried about politics and permissions. Guardian, Jake said, if we go to Outpost 7, can we save the colonists without killing the Krillians? Yes, Guardian replied instantly. The Titan has non-lethal systems designed for exactly this type of situation. We can disable enemy ships, separate attackers from civilians, and evacuate the wounded. We can save everyone. The Titan dropped out of faster-than-light travel above Outpost 7, and Jake's heart sank. The colony was built on a small asteroid, just a cluster of domes and mining facilities clinging to the rock. 3 of the domes were already breached, venting atmosphere into space. The Krillian warships circled the colony like sharks, firing randomly at the remaining structures. Escape pods drifted among the wreckage, some of them damaged and leaking air. Casualty count? Jake asked quietly. Guardian's response came with clinical precision. 43 confirmed dead. 117 colonists still alive, but 29 are in immediate danger from life support failure. The Krillians have also taken hostages. 62 civilians are being held in the colony's main habitat dome. Jake studied the tactical display that Guardian projected directly into his mind. The situation was worse than he had imagined. The Krillians weren't just raiding. They were being methodical, separating the colonists into groups. Some would be killed as examples. Others would be taken as slaves. The Krillian species had rejected every attempt at diplomacy. They saw other species as prey, nothing more. The Krillian commander is hailing us, Guardian reported. Audio only. Put it through, Jake said. A rough, snarling voice filled the bridge. The Krillian spoke in a language of growls and clicks, but Guardian translated instantly. Unknown vessel, this colony is ours by right of conquest. Withdraw or be destroyed. Jake took a deep breath. This is Jake Morrison of the Titan. Release your hostages and withdraw from this system. This is your only warning. The Krillian commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. You are 1 ship. We are 12. Your arrogance will cost you your life, fool. I tried diplomacy, Jake muttered. Guardian, show me the hostages. I need to know exactly where they are. The tactical display expanded, showing the interior of the habitat dome. Guardian's sensors could see through the walls, tracking heat signatures and life signs. Jake counted 62 human colonists huddled in the center of the dome. 10 Krillian warriors stood guard around them, weapons ready. If the Krillians even suspected they were losing, they would kill the hostages out of spite. We need to be surgical. Jake said. Separate the Krillians from the hostages without giving them time to react.
Can we do that?
Yes, Guardian replied. The Titan has gravity manipulation technology. We can create localized fields that will pin the Krillian warriors in place. We can also deploy support drones to evacuate the colonists. What about the damaged escape pods? Jake asked. People are dying out there. I have already dispatched repair drones, Guardian said. They will patch the life support systems and guide the pods to safety. Estimated time to secure all survivors 8 minutes. Jake marveled at Guardian's efficiency. The AI was handling dozens of tasks simultaneously, controlling systems that would take a human crew hours to coordinate. This was what the architects had built, not just a weapon, but a force of precision and purpose. The Krillian ships are moving to attack, Guardian warned. They are targeting our position. Jake felt a moment of fear, then Guardian's calm confidence washed through the bond. Let them come, Jake said. Activate shields but don't fire back yet. I want them to see they can't hurt us. The Krillian warships opened fire together. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the Titan from every direction. Guardian didn't even bother to maneuver. The shields activated and the weapons simply vanished on contact, their energy absorbed and scattered. The Krillians fired again and again, pouring everything they had at the ancient vessel. Nothing got through. They're learning they can't damage us, Jake observed. What will they do next? Standard Krillian tactics suggest they will retreat to the colony and threaten to kill hostages, Guardian replied. They will attempt to use the civilians as leverage. Not if we move first, Jake said. Execute the hostage rescue now. Guardian acted instantly. The Titan's gravity systems engaged, invisible fields reaching down to the colony. Inside the habitat dome, the Krillian warriors suddenly found themselves frozen in place, pinned by force they couldn't see or fight. They roared in anger and confusion, trying to move, but they might as well have been encased in concrete. At the same time, small drones launched from the Titan. They were each about the size of a basketball, moving with impossible speed and grace. The drones flew into the habitat dome through the damaged sections, weaving between debris. They projected holographic messages telling the colonists to stay calm and follow instructions. Jake watched through Guardian's sensors as the rescue unfolded. The colonists were terrified, but they listened to the drones. Within minutes, they were being guided to safe areas where emergency force fields protected them from the vacuum. The drones worked with incredible efficiency, carrying injured colonists who couldn't walk and sealing breaches in their pressure suits. The Krillian ships are trying to flee, Guardian reported. Shall I disable them? Jake thought about it for a moment. The Krillians were raiders and murderers. The galaxy would probably be better off if they were destroyed, but that wasn't the example Jake wanted to set. If he killed the Krillians now, he would prove that the Titan was just another weapon, just another tool of violence. Disable their engines and weapons, Jake ordered, but don't destroy them. I want them alive to stand trial for what they did here. Guardian's confusion rippled through the bond. You continue to show mercy to those who deserve none. Why? Because the architects didn't build you to be an executioner, Jake replied. They built you to be a guardian. There's a difference. The Titan's weapons came online, but not the massive cannons that could crack planets. Instead, smaller precision weapons emerged from hidden ports. They fired concentrated beams of energy that struck each Krillian ship with surgical accuracy. Engines exploded. Weapon systems melted. Within seconds, all 12 warships were drifting helplessly, their crews alive but powerless. All hostages secured, Guardian reported. All damaged escape pods repaired. 0 additional casualties. Mission parameters exceeded. Jake let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. They had done it. They had saved everyone. What about the Krillian warriors on the colony? Still pinned by gravity fields, Guardian said. They cannot move until you decide to release them. Keep them there until coalition forces arrive, Jake ordered. They can take custody of the prisoners. He opened a channel to the colony's emergency command center. A human woman appeared on the screen, her face streaked with tears and soot. This is Commander Sarah Blake. Who are you? What was that ship? My name is Jake Morrison, Jake said. We picked up your distress call. Are you okay? Sarah stared at him in disbelief. You saved us. That ship, the Titan, it did in minutes what our defenses couldn't do in hours. How is that possible? Jake smiled tiredly. It's a long story. Coalition forces are on their way. They'll be here in about 2 hours. Can you hold on until then? We can now, thanks to you, Sarah replied. Jake Morrison, I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you saved 179 lives today. We won't forget that. The channel closed and Jake sat back in the throne. Through his bond with Guardian, he could feel the AI's satisfaction. This was what they had been meant to do. Not destroy or conquer, but protect, save lives that would otherwise be lost. The Coalition fleet is approaching, Guardian announced. King Theron's flagship is leading them. He is hailing us. Jake took a deep breath. Put him through. King Theron's reptilian face appeared on the display. For a long moment, he just stared at Jake in silence. Then he spoke, his voice lacking its usual anger. You disobeyed the Council's orders. I did, Jake admitted. People were dying. I couldn't just sit there and let it happen. You could have destroyed the Krillian ships, King Theron continued. You had the power, yet you showed restraint. Why? Because that's not what the Titan is for, Jake said. The architects built it to protect life, not take it. Guardian and I understand that now. King Theron was quiet again. Then surprisingly, he nodded. You have demonstrated wisdom beyond your years, human, and restraint beyond what I expected. Perhaps I was wrong about your species. Does that mean humanity can keep the Titan? Jake asked. The Council will still vote, King Theron replied. But I will no longer oppose you. What you did here today, saving every life including your enemies, this is the mark of a true Guardian. The architects chose well when they accepted you. The channel closed. Jake felt Guardian's amazement through the bond. He respects us now, the AI observed. We earned it through action, just as you said we would. We're not done yet, Jake said. We still have to convince the rest of the Council. But this is a good start. Over the next few hours, Coalition forces arrived to take custody of the Krillian prisoners and help the colonists. Medical ships evacuated the wounded. Engineering crews began repairing the damaged domes. And throughout it all, the Titan floated above the colony, a silent guardian watching over the rescue efforts. Ambassador Peter Grant called with news. Jake, you're all over the galactic news feeds. Every species is talking about what you did at Outpost 7. The Council is meeting right now to discuss the situation. What are they saying? Jake asked. It's split, Peter admitted. Some species still fear the Titan, but others are pointing out that you had the power to do